The nerdy Heli simmer.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Freeware Gems. Today we will take a look at the Sud Aviation Alouette III by HSF. The exterior model is very well done and true to life, which means that we are looking at one hell of an ugly helicopter. You can get your copy of the Alouette III for XP12 via the Explain forum. I've spawned a version with snow skids and the Astazu engine, and we can see that the rotor blades are animated as I move the collective. Nice attention to detail. You can see that the swash plate is animated too. When I move the cyclic, you can see it move. The first prototype flew in 1959 and the airframe was introduced in the 1960s, offering a bigger and more roomy alternative to Sud Aviation's successful Alouette II. With its fully articulated three-bladed rotor system and its spacious and streamlined cabin, one can already make out the helicopter that would eventually be developed from this airframe, which was of course the SA-341 Gazelle. Speaking of which, if you're familiar with starting up a Gazelle or a Llama, you will feel right at home in this cockpit. This is a wheeled helicopter, so make sure that the parking brake is set for startup. The round lever up here is for locking or unlocking the free-castering nose wheel. And make sure that the rotor brake is disengaged, so pushed all the way in. The panel looks quite festive, however let's take a look at the interior texturing. Now, as can be expected for a freeware aircraft, once you zoom in, you can see that the textures are a little bit low res. Nice detail though, you can actually fold up these rather uncomfortably looking back seats. For engine start, switch on battery and generators on the overhead panel. And as always, activate the anti-collision lights before any part of your aircraft starts to move. Shadows are deep in Talkeetna Airport, so it's close to dusk. The white fuel lever all the way back and the red cutoff fully forward. There's a caution light test switch, press it and make sure that all the caution lights work. And don't forget to check out the included manual so you will know what all these lights mean. Switch on the fuel pumps and wait for 15 seconds for engine priming. After that we can activate the engine start. It says 15 seconds in the manual. Interestingly enough, in the Llama and the Gazelle you have to wait for 20 seconds before you engage the engine starter. As in the Llama, you will find the Collins pitch indicator, which shows you how much collective pitch you are allowed to pull. For more information on that instrument, check out my Llama videos. Starter switch up for automatic engine start. Exhaust gas temperature should not exceed 630 degrees Celsius. Now the sound is just extraordinary. Also a very nice heat blur on that engine. There you can see it again. The helicopter is very loud, however these old jet engines actually were very loud. Once the engine RPM have stabilized at around 19,000, we will engage the rotors by slowly advancing the white fuel lever. At some point the rotors will start to turn. There they go, you can actually hear them, so if you're listening on headphones, this is just a very beautiful sound design. The inertia of the rotor blades spooling up is actually shaking the helicopter, which is a very nice feature as well. One interesting thing, I don't see any shadows of the rotor blades. However, the shadows are long and maybe I'm just not able to see them back on the grass there. So let's slowly advance the fuel lever all the way forward, and then we're ready to go. Notice the red light on the panel, which will illuminate as long as your white fuel lever is not all the way forward. Most of the switches on the overhead panel are not operable. However, let's switch on the pitot heat. Field elevation of Talkeetna Airport is about 360 feet. Alright, that's close enough. We're ready to go, and you can actually hear the high-pitched whine of the Astazu engine by Turbomeca. Originally, they used the Artust engine on both the Alouette 2 and 3. Before takeoff, we will disengage the parking brake, and oops, you can see we moved a little on the ground here. Should have anticipated the left pedal, apparently. Or I should have locked the nose wheel, I don't know. Now remember, the Alouette 3 has a main rotor that turns in a clockwise direction, so our right pedal will be our power pedal. I'm going to start taxiing here by pushing forward the cyclic and then gradually increase collective a little bit. Now to stop taxiing without using your brakes, just center your cyclic and reduce collective. For liftoff, you would usually anticipate right pedal. However, with this nose wheel, I'm actually finding myself giving a little bit of left pedal input to maintain directional control. I'm also slowly raising the collective and displacing the cyclic just a tad bit to the right. I expect the helicopter to hover a little bit right skid low, or in our case with a right wheel low. The helicopter takes off with the left wheel first, and the right wheel hangs a little bit lower. This is due to a phenomenon called the translating tendency. Check out my videos on how to fly a helicopter in a sim for more information. Now, as you can see, the helicopter is actually dead steady. If you don't move the cyclic much, the helicopter won't move. Now, these helicopters back then were not equipped with fancy hydraulic actuators for stabilization or SAS systems. So I actually expected this helicopter to be a little bit more of a handful, sort of requiring you to do more corrective control inputs, maybe be a little more active on the paddles. It actually feels like a rather heavy helicopter, just hanging there and not getting into oscillations that easily. So to me it feels a little stabilized. Then again, I'm on my full-size helicopter controls. It might be a little bit more agile when you're on small controllers. Now let's set it down again. Well, it flies and feels very good. Definitely a solid helicopter simulation. External visibility is great with the large windscreen and the small panel. It is very well suited for VFR flying. And due to its inherent stability, I think it is a great choice for all you beginning helicopter sim pilots out there. For a smooth touchdown, reduce collective slowly while maintaining a stable hover. If you find yourself constantly drifting to the left, remember to keep the right wheels a little bit lower than the left ones. Now the right aft wheel will touch the ground first, and once it does, don't just drop the collective. Maintain a stable hover while slowly reducing collective until all three wheels are on the ground. Now so much for hovering and landing. Let's lift off again and fly someplace. Now I'm not exactly sure who HSF really are. I think they're a group of programmers from France. They call themselves Heli Simu France. And one of them just recently released the EC130 for XP12. You check out my review flight. It's a very nice helicopter. And funnily enough, the Eurocopter EC130 basically is also a derivative of the Alouette III, if you will. HSF also collaborated with RotorSim on their version 5 of the EC35. I think they provided the 3D model for the latest versions. Speaking of which, I find the EC35 for XP12 by RotorSim to be somewhat of a disappointment. The flight dynamics have changed quite a bit compared to the XP11 version, and I might say they have changed for the worse. Be sure to let me know in the comments whether or not you feel the same way. Now let's take off from the runway. Well, this end of the runway is a little bit short, so let's do a pedal turn and take off in the other direction. Well, winds are light and variable, so it doesn't really matter which direction we're going to take off. Pushing the cyclic forward and increasing collective. Anticipating right pedal. Whoops. Apparently not much pedal input needed. Transition into forward flight is a little uneventful. I would have expected it to roll a little bit to the left. Climb rate is good. We are very lightweight, so we have quite the power margin left. I guess left turn's approved. Now here's a weird thing about the slip indicator. When I try to center the ball, it leaves me completely out of trim, crabbing to the right. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Now Talkeetna, Alaska lies some 80 miles north of Anchorage at the Susitna River that we can see down below. And the reason that I chose to fly here today is that it is one of the few airports that have already been ported over from X-Plane 11 to X-Plane 12. Now over the years I've invested an embarrassing amount of money in airports and scenery for the simulator, which are as of now incompatible with the XP12. Now I'm hoping that this will change in the future. Anyway, if you want to have great scenery, you need to hop over to MSFS. If only their helicopters would be better. I'm going to do some flights in MSFS as well very soon. Doing some VFR flying. And coming up is a video of my first flight with the Mi-24 Hind in DCS. Make sure to subscribe to never miss a video. I'm going to turn back to the airport and land this thing. Now HSF actually delivered a payware quality freeware add-on with their Alouette III. The animations are great, the attention to detail is very high, and the aircraft is very stable, so it is perfect for beginning helicopter sim pilots. I actually expected it to be a little less stable, maybe feel a little more prototypical, seeing as it is such an old aircraft. Anyway, flight dynamics are pretty solid, and it's a freeware aircraft, guys. Now, decelerating can be quite tricky in X-Plane 12. I'm going to try to bleed off some speed by doing a rather tight turn. Ooh, nice. A blade slap sound coming in. Still a little bit high. I'm going to do one more circle. And we're not on BATSIM or anything, so there's no traffic. We're free to fly anywhere we want. Now, one peculiar thing about the helicopter flight model of X-Plane 12 is the way that the helicopters drop out of the sky when you come into a hover. In fact, when you exit effective translational lift, the power requirement of the helicopter should increase, but I believe it should happen actually a little bit earlier than it does in the sim, and maybe not as drastical. So, to sum it up, is the Alouette III by HSF a freeware gem? It most certainly is. Our first flight was very convincing, a very stable platform, great visibility, great animations, great sound. Pretty much love this helicopter. I'm not sure if I'm going to fly it that often, but I'll certainly keep it in my virtual hangar, and kudos to the guys from HSF for delivering such a high quality aircraft for free. Thank you very much, guys. Oh, and this just in. Apparently Fred from Dreamflight Helicopters has just released an upgraded version of his Schweizer S300. So I'm going to make a video on that one as well. I'm pretty excited about it. Not only haven't we heard from Fred in a very long time, I also really like the XP11 version. It had a few quirks though, so I'm very excited about how the XP12 version is going to turn out. So stay tuned for a video on the Schweizer 300. Back on the ground, make sure that you engage your parking brake, and then you want to pull back on the fuel lever to slow down the rotors. After about 30 seconds you can switch off the turbine, or you can engage the rotor brake to slow the rotors and keep the turbine running. There's a windscreen wiper that you can activate. Once rotor RPM is below 175, you can engage the rotor brake. To stop the rotors, make sure that one blade points straight forward to avoid the other blades coming to a rest above the hot engine exhaust. Disengage the starter and the fuel pumps, and then you can basically switch everything else off. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Freeware Gems. Be sure to let me know what you think of HSF's Alouette III by commenting below. And if you like my channel, feel free to subscribe and hit like. and I'll be seeing you around next time. Ta-ta.